I don't think I've seen this. Courage the Cowardly Dog's my favorite show ever made. Not just cartoon, but genuinely just my favorite show ever made. I also think it holds up extremely well. It's a actual timeless show. Woo!
According to legend, a skinwalker is a person with the supernatural ability to turn into any animal.
Exhibits
and walks
Yield,
on all
Blue,
fours.
and Spawn.
There are stories of countless encounters in New Mexico, but few will speak of them. Too scared, they'll be targeted.
And then the Tricks Rabbit? What the fuck is that?
On November 12th, 1999, the 8th entry in the Cartoon series aired on
Resub
Cartoon
Gekken,
Network, a show titled
Gangbang, and the Prime
Courage
X
the
Gel.
Cowardly Dog. Unlike the previous shows that aired on the network,
What a fucking lineup, real quick. Just look at this. Look at this lineup. Take out maybe I Am Weasel. I don't really remember Mike Lou and Og that much. I wasn't a huge fan. But what a lineup. Cartoon Network was just so far ahead of Nickelodeon, man. Ugh.
unlike the previous shows,
Nickelodeon only had Invader
Courage
Zim
wasn't
and
purely a comedy
SpongeBob.
show. Comedy was
Oh,
a
and Hey
large part
Arnold.
of it, but it had a second genre heavily mixed in: horror. Ask almost anybody who grew up in the late 90s and early 2000s,
There's a Prime Omniscient.
and
they
they'll
give some
probably tell you
feats
that
and Resub
Courage
Yeetus.
absolutely scared the shit out of them.
King Ramses.
There are many theories regarding Courage the Cowardly Dog, such as the one that innocently states that Courage is a normal dog who is understandably terrified of strangers and interprets them as monsters.
Avatar was
And
later.
the
Avatar
other
was like
theory that states that
2004.
The middle of nowhere is literally hell. However, there is a far more sinister theory out there, one that explains where the horror elements came from. A supposedly true story centered around a terrifying, mysterious creature. This is the horrifying theory behind Courage the Cowardly
Rocco
Dog.
was okay. Rocco wasn't a bad show. Cat Dog I did forget about though. I really liked Cat Dog.
All throughout the American Southwest,
I didn't like Ren and Stimpy.
specifically New Mexico, there are tales of a disturbing creature, capable of shapeshifting into any animal or human that it desires. Known as a skinwalker, these creatures are described as malevolent witches that can transform into any animal, inheriting its speed, strength, or cunning nature. Tales of the skinwalkers originate from the Navajo and other Native American tribes in the Southwest. They are not made up to scare children or anything like that.
They're made up to scare
Skinwalkers
adults.
are said to be very real
Oh.
and commit murder for very human reasons,
Oh.
such as power or revenge. Not only can they take the forms of animals, but also the faces of humans, perhaps even those that you know. When asking Navajo people or New Mexico residents about skinwalkers, you'll most likely be greeted with confusion and
Yeah.
silence,
That makes sense.
where they'll act as if they have no idea what you're talking about.
Or they really just don't
Only
have
when
any
getting to
idea.
know them will they open up about their stories of skinwalkers,
What do you mean?
which almost everyone has. This is because it's unwise to speak openly about skinwalkers with strangers.
Why? Do they have
as
like
any interest in the subject could
listening bugs
actually
everywhere?
attract them. Or they could even think they're speaking with a
Maybe
skinwalker
UAV?
themselves. You can never be too sure. Okay, it's easy to dismiss this as a creepypasta or an urban legend or
Well,
something.
that's what it is.
However, things get interesting after looking into the story a bit more.
Thanks, Risa. Big Run. In Peters.
The house in the image that is compared to the middle of nowhere from the show is a real location in a town called Truth or Consequences in New
Oh,
Mexico.
hey, wait, I've heard of that place.
Weirdly enough, that is the town's real name.
Yeah.
The town had a population.
Yeah, hold on. If any, I think we did this during GeoGuessr? I don't remember. Or no, it was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? We had a question about which of these is not a real place, and it was like fucking Diarrhea McShardingtonville, Truth or Consequences, Tits Galore. It was like a bunch of dumb names. And we got it wrong. This is such a stupid name for a town. Do we have any Truth or Consequence residents in chat by chance? Man, we got the entire town in here. Fuck yeah. Oh, it was Tits Galore. Yeah. It was something like that. There's actually like a real place called like Tits Galore or some shit.
Real name. The town had a population of roughly around 3,000 people, making it feel like it was truly in the middle of nowhere. To make matters worse, this is the town where a series of gruesome murders took place, some
Holy
of which
shit.
happened in that very house. David Parker Ray was nicknamed the Toy Box Killer due to his method of placing a solid block around the victim's head while he tortured them to death.
Oh my
He has been
god.
confirmed to kidnap, sexually assault, and murder 3 children. However, it's speculated that his victims span from 40 to 60 people.
And he's from
David
Truth or
Parker Ray was known
Consequence?
for traveling to Truth or Consequences
Oh.
in search for houses that were isolated and far away from the rest of society, which is something that this town had more than its fair share of.
Oh, what the fuck? This looks awful. Oh my god. I would hate to live there.
Share of. He would use disguises and gain the trust of the family he planned to attack next.
Thanks, your subrectum,
Upon
Nick,
making his choice
Shook,
and
and
gaining their
Alberto.
trust, he would employ one of 3 strategies. Using a sob
know about
story
that,
to
Pickle.
win sympathy and gain entry to the house, tricking the family with promises of fame or money, or cutting the phone line and then offering to help repair it.
I'm gonna make a guess. This promises
After
of
his
fame or
crimes
money.
became
He's gonna
well known,
reference Courage the
the
Cowardly
people
Dog
of Truth or
director.
Consequences demanded
The
justice.
zombie.
Unfortunately, there was almost no witnesses and pretty much a non-existent police force. In order to explain what had happened, many locals tied the story of David Parker Ray to that of the New Mexico Skinwalkers. They had many striking similarities after all. Both would sought out other humans, stalking them, and disguising themselves as other humans in order to lure them in. But what really happened? And how does it connect to Courage the Cowardly Dog?
Yeah, I'm also curious how it connects. Oh, we're already at the
When
conclusion?
taking into account the 3 strategies that David Parker Ray would use to lure his victims, the connection to Courage becomes fairly obvious.
Not
Various
really.
antagonists throughout the series employ these tactics, especially the sob story and delusions of fame.
Oh, it's just, I've lost my precious dog, Duncan.
Oh my.
I need to rewatch Courage.
We'll pay.
Yeah, I told you he'd use this guy.
Okay.
Fucking told you. I knew it.
Eustace, in particular, was easily swayed by the latter of the 2. Of course, David Parker Ray was far darker than
Thanks, you
anything
sub
in Courage
slap,
the Cowardly
Zolba,
Dog. This man
Flume,
was found to have
Set.
numerous sexual toys and
Badgus,
torture
and Wooly.
devices that he would use on his victims, not to mention the tools that were found in his sex dungeons.
Jesus
But while
Christ.
these stories were unfortunately true, can the
Goddamn.
same be said for Courage the Cowardly Dog being based on them, and to a further extent, based on the New Mexico Skinwalkers? Well, it's incredibly unlikely that David Parker
Where's
Ray
Brian?
was a Skinwalker, given
Shantz
his
and
use of
Danye.
sex toys and torture. It's more likely that it was something the residents of Truth or Consequences told themselves to explain the atrocities that had happened, given their lack of witnesses and police help. But regarding Courage, are the similarities really a sign of connection? The house in Truth or Consequences and the one in the middle of nowhere are jarringly similar, along with the occurrences that took place with David Parker Ray and the disturbing stories of skinwalkers mirroring the terrifying events that occur in the show. But still, the creator is adamant in his explanation that the show is based off of older horror films and animations.
Well, yeah.
So
I don't think he
what's the
based it off
truth here?
David Parker
Well,
Ray.
it's most likely that Courage was based
Except maybe
on
this
the films,
episode.
but inspiration doesn't just have to be from one singular source. It's entirely possible that the show was influenced by the happenings in Truth or Consequences, given how similar the premise and the events are, not to mention location. However, it's doubtful that David Parker Ray and his disgusting and heinous actions were the influencing factor. It's more likely that the Skinwalker urban legend inspired the show,
Thanks, Resub.
rather than an
No
actual
Macaroni and
serial
Joycey
killer.
And
It's
Mackie.
fun to theorize and wonder about shows every now and then, but it's important to remember that in scenarios like this, it's almost always not as crazy as you might think.
What? That was a weird conclusion. You were the one that set up the connection and then said there is no connection. I don't think there was anyone speculating Courage the Cowardly Dog was based on David Parker Ray's abduction, sexual abuse, and murder of real people. So what did this do? What? As you can see, the similarities are endless. There's an episode where a lady's crying, just like people who cried when they got abducted by David Parker Ray. There's a guy who promises fame and money, just like David Parker Ray. God, I need to rewatch Courage again, man. Courage is such a fucking good show. If there is any justice in the world, there will be more Courage. John R. Dilworth needs to get after it again. I didn't really care too much for the Courage and Scooby-Doo crossover. It was mainly just Scooby-Doo. But with Courage as the lead character.